I learned a lot of shit from them. Believe it or not, those little fucks have been
Yeah.
teaching me. I'm serious, man. They've been teaching me jiu-jitsu since they were 8 years old.
That's
No
amazing.
shit, man. I have learned so much from them. Anytime I had to troubleshoot something or I'm like, I need this with, dude, there's nothing I could ask them, even when they were 10, that they didn't know. They were already
Wow.
black belts,
Wow.
training since they were 3 years old. Good seeing you, man. What are you
Likewise,
up to?
man. Closing out another one. I was in the Dominican Republic last weekend, so this week was a
What?
little yeah.
You
Let
got
it
some
go.
island time, huh?
Yeah, I got some island time a couple of
How was
days.
that?
It was super hot and slow and cool, in a pool, just
Mm-hmm.
hanging out. I had to help a family member with something, and as a bonus, we went up for a couple days at the beach. It was nice.
I love it. I'm going to the
Too
Bahamas next
nice.
week.
Too nice. Oh, that's
Next
cool.
week, I will be in the Bahamas. I am so excited. Gonna
Sick.
fly over to Albany and hang out on a yacht.
Oh
And
yeah.
chill.
That's
And just
what's
chill.
up.
Yacht life. Yacht life. You know
Yacht
what I'm
life.
doing? Yeah, you know what I'm doing right now is I don't know what I was listening to. I think it was a podcast, Rick Rubin's podcast, and they had Michael McDonald. That's what it was, and he was singing and he was talking about his career with the Doobie Brothers.
Yep.
And I love listening to artists talk, because for me, artists are truly entrepreneurs.
Sure.
Like, you're following your
Absolutely.
passion, but you are truly responsible for how shit pans out.
Yeah.
And sometimes you and also in life, it's just like in life, you got to put shit out there, and sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. You can't get emotional about what happens. You have to just be like, okay, I've created this thing, I'm gonna bring it out into the world, and whatever happens happens.
Yeah. It's not mine
That is
anymore.
It's not mine anymore. And
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, you have to do that too, where you have to be like, I'm creating this business concept, I'm putting this out, putting out this, even a video, whatever it is, I'm putting it out, we'll see what happens. Let's see if it gets,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
You can't obsess over the outcome. You just have to kind of just keep iterating and keep iterating and keep doing it, and then
It's one
eventually,
of the basic messages of stoicism, and even the Bhagavad Gita and all these ancient texts is, do not attach to the fruits of your labor. Enjoy your labor. Maybe the fruits will come. Maybe the tree will bear fruit. Maybe it won't. But that's not. Once you plant that seed, you got to wait, water it, and just wait and see what happens. So, but anyways,
it's a
go
complicated
ahead.
concept. It's a complicated concept because so much energy gets wrapped up in the doing and the desire for whatever the win is, but to then detach from it, doesn't come natural.
Yeah, but I think what happens though is that when we attach to the outcome, we corrupt the process.
Definitely.
Like, if I'm sitting there and I'm training, today's topic is about jiu-jitsu, but if I'm sitting here, if I'm training every day and I'm like only thinking of, oh, I'm going to get this gold medal, or I'm going to get this, it's like I'm actually not giving 100% of my attention to the technique and how it's like becoming a part of my game.
Yeah,
So
for
I'm
sure.
always like more focused on, with jujitsu, where in my game do I have a hole and what am I working on? And then being like, what is this specific technique? And then working on that, and then
Yeah.
just worry about the friggin', don't think about the gold, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Worlds just happened. Did you watch any Worlds?
I didn't.
Worlds in the gi? It was
No, I didn't
really,
catch any of it.
it was really, really good. And what my takeaway is from watching, because my team AOJ, they were there in force and with the adult black belts. And you know what my takeaway was from this tournament, that is always my takeaway from
What's that?
jiu-jitsu tournaments? You know what
What's
it is?
that? What?
Most people lose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, man.
Most people lose.
Most people lose. Yeah. Most of the people that went there that day lost.
Every tournament, that's what I come away with. I'm like, let me tell you something, man.
Yeah, there's
These
not that many
are
winners. Very
adult.
interesting.
No, there's only one winner
Yeah.
in every division. There's one.
Yep. One winner.
Second place lost,
Yep.
right? And what I was always told by Hoffa and Gee was, guess what? It's great you got second, but you're lucky you didn't fight the person that you lost to in the first round instead of the semifinals or the finals,
Yeah.
because you would have
Yeah.
come away with nothing. So don't accept. Go back to the drawing board and keep going until you win gold. You know.
Wow.
So no,
Yeah.
it's the takeaway, because training with professional athletes like that, who have dedicated their lives, who have upended everything, they've sacrificed everything, they've moved across the world sometimes, and to train day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, through injuries, through frustrations, through dieting, through, and then
Life.
you see 90% of them are going to lose.
Yeah. It's wild. You got to love it. And you got to
You
love
got
the
to love it.
process.
That's it. That's the message right there. That's it.
Got
If
to
you
love
don't
the
like the
process.
process, you got to go find something that you love the process.
Hell
You
yeah.
know.
Hell
So
yeah.
anyways, back to what we were saying. So we rabbit holed into this because I was listening to this Rick Rubin podcast, Broken Record, and Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers was on there, and they described, just in a passing sentence, the Doobie Brothers music and Steely Dan. He played with Steely Dan as yacht rock. And
I love
so,
Steely Dan.
I, oh, amazing, just
Love.
amazing artists. And so then I was like, yeah, yacht rock is like this great. So I'm going on
Yeah.
a yacht next week, and I'm gonna put together my playlist for the yacht.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
Steely Dan, Doobie Brothers, Ween. I don't know if you ever
Well,
listened to Ween,
yeah, of
but
course, man. Ween.
mm,
Yeah. Hell
so,
yeah.
anyways, today's topic is just mind blowing. We talked a little bit about jujitsu, and Worlds just happened, but we're now coming up on, in August, the biggest no gi. We just came from the gi, which is every year, but every 2 years we've got ADCC that is going to go down in August. And there has been, and this is the like Super Bowl of Nogi.
Yeah.
And there's been a massive disruption, earthquake
It's amazing. It's
that is
amazing.
happening. Yeah. So Craig Jones, that meme troll, I love Craig Jones. I
Yo,
love Craig Jones.
he's amazing. He
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 is
is
amazing.
his character is like a tremendous thing for the sport.
Oh man, he is an agent of
Tremendous.
chaos, and I love
Yes.
I love agents of chaos. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm like, oh yeah, Craig is the best. He's very smart. He calls out steroids and TRT and all that shit like it is. He doesn't, his techniques are unbelievable. So he's
Oh
one of the
yeah.
best in the
And
world.
he's
And
he's humble too. He's not like, he's not disgruntled because he's not number one. He's totally at peace with it, and he's just enjoying, doing the thing. And I'm wondering, who is the secret sugar daddy? Is it Mark Zuckerberg? Is it Dana? Who is it?
I don't know. I don't know. That's the big question, man. That's the big question. Is it some crypto guys? So
Yeah.
I train down here at often at Atos in Miami now, and is one of the places that I train because I'm a Karancha. You know what that is?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Brianna,
I'm a
yep.
cockroach now. So now that
Yeah.
I'm like gymless, I just float. And so but Leo Davila, who owns Atos here, he does all the jujitsu scheduling for Karate Combat. So
Yeah.
Karate Combat has a pit that they do their
Yeah.
jujitsu in. So they do like 3 or 4 jujitsu matches in the middle of Karate Combat. They were just in Austin, and so Craig has been on Karate Combat in Grappling a few times, and he loved the mats, how they're at an angle and it's like a pit, because then you don't go outside of the match, but you can still see it's not like a cage. So it's really kind of the
Yeah.
best of both worlds. And so he's going to use the karate combat pit system. I wonder if maybe it's some, in karate combat is funded, by my understanding, by a guy who is really into crypto. And
Okay.
so, that you can even bet, I believe, in the middle of karate combat, in the middle of matches with crypto and all this. So, anyways,
I haven't really seen it. I briefly glanced, I think on social media, and I saw the sunk in pit or whatever you want to call it. It's interesting
mhm.
looking. And then
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's MMA too. It's like it's
No, no, it's not MMA. It's just karate and jujitsu for now.
like point karate.
I don't think so. I think they're like really fighting. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
Point.
got to be karate guys.
Yeah, that was one thing I talked about this before. That I always thought that, and I was coming from wrestling, which is my background. I'm used to 100% contact, right?
Sure.
100% contact, where you go until it's over.
Yep.
And so, and that's the way jujitsu is. It's 100% you go in. And I was used to Muay Thai, which I'd seen, which is 100%. And then I
Yep.
remember I saw Taekwondo, and I was like, "What is this?"
It's
Like,
like
where that
dancing.
you touch someone and it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
touch someone and it's over, and it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
So, and I think some of karate is like that too, but I think this is like real, like Muay Thai
Okay.
karate. You know what I
They're
mean?
kickboxing. They're fighting.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's cool.
Eh,
That's
yeah.
cool.
So yeah.
So no ground and pound, none of that shit.
No, 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 no. You're just striking, man. So it's pretty cool, man. And they're getting like MMA fighters. I think did Luke Rockhold fight? I don't remember. I think so.
I know he's hooked up with Craig. I know that that he's involved with Craig. I think that they were
He's
talking
gonna be
maybe.
in the CJI. Yeah.
So what do you think about that? And so
So
many people
yeah,
dropped
so
out.
so what happened basically is that Craig Jones announced that he's got $3 million. He booked the Thomas and Mack Arena in Las Vegas on the same weekend as
It's amazing.
ADCC.
It's so fucking cool.
Yes, and he booked Thomas and Mack at the same time and day and all that, and is going to run a tournament opposite ADCC. And at ADCC, if you win $10,000. And Craig
Yeah.
said, I got $3 million. I'm going to create a division. I believe it's 80 kilograms and below, 80 kilograms and above. If you win the below, you win $1 million. If you win the above, you win $1 million.
Amazing.
And if you show up, just showing up, if you're one of the 16, you get $10,001. You'll get
Just to
one
show.
more dollar than even the winner of ADCC. So people are
He's
just dropping
really
out like flies, man.
he's really putting it up their ass, man. Like I wonder like what's going to be. You haven't heard much of a response from them, like that guy Mo Jassam, the organizer. Like you
Yeah. Well,
haven't
he's come
heard.
out. My understanding is he's come out and he's like, well, I don't really care if people join or compete or not. Just don't screw everyone by announcing at the last minute that you're not gonna. Come on, man. You're not happy. You're pissed off. You're
Yeah,
angry. There. He's. This is a direct affront to the organization of ADCC and what ADCC is doing.
but
And
what Craig was saying, which I kind of agree with. I think. I mean, I've never done anything like that as far as an event is concerned. But like, how is it possible that they're not able to get those fighters a little bit more money? I mean, like, like they got to be able to do it if they're, if it's a priority. I got to imagine that they could that it could produce more for the athletes.
yeah, I mean, the history of ADCC is interesting. So the Sheik, um, from Abu Dhabi, right, is backed ADCC. He was at school in San Diego back in like the mid 90s. I believe he became friends and really got into jiu-jitsu, became friends with Renzo Gracie.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with Renzo, and Renzo, I went to dinner and he kind of told me a little bit about it. And Renzo's gone over
That's the
there,
same.
and
That's the story that I heard. That like he was like, and nobody knew who he was, right? And he was like
yeah,
kept his identity.
yeah, very, very chill, very, very, you're talking about probably, one of the wealthiest individuals in the world, because
Yeah,
what people don't understand is it's like a sovereign wealth fund. It's like it's like Putin is not going to be on the Forbes 400, richest,
sure.
whatever, because he controls the state treasury of Russia,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
not, it's like, dude, you're a state unto yourself. Well, it's the same
yeah,
thing with these royal families who control the government. And so the sheik became very enamored with jujitsu, and I know several like elite jujitsu players who he have gone over there. He's flown them over there to teach um, him and train with him in jujitsu. I'm talking about the best in the world, the best in the world. And, every one of them has told me, no, he's really good, man. He's good.
that's cool.
And, he's older, but he's good. And he's really into jujitsu. Like, this is
Awesome.
no, like, you get some guys they're like celebrity black belts, they've never
Sure.
competed. You know what I mean? They've never, it's like, but he's like really, really, really into jiu-jitsu. So, um, but so he started becoming enamored, becoming a friends with Renzo Gracie. You got to realize in the mid 90s, Renzo Gracie was like the man for MMA,
Sure.
and one of the leading guys, and so fighters. And so then later on, I believe so he started ADCC, funded it. And the idea was every 2 years, it was really, the rules are very wrestling centric. I want to make this so a wrestler can compete. And there have been, I think it was Mark Kerr, there have been wrestlers who have won. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of changed now. Not the rule set, but what's changed is that jiu-jitsu players are now wrestlers. No, even nogi, like we train wrestling, right? At
Yeah.
AOJ, we always train wrestling. I'm a
Yep.
wrestler. We're always training wrestling. So it's this misnomer that guys are like, oh, jiu-jitsu is just butt scooting. It's like, dude, go compete. You'll see.
Not good.
You know
Not
what I
good
mean?
jujitsu.
Not good jiu-jitsu, yeah. And so that rule set, but anyways, the idea was every 2 years we'll have this grappling rule set that will, allow luta libre and wrestling and sambo, and with the leg locks and all that, for all these different grappling competitors to come together and see who's the best. And then every 2 years it would move. And so by my experience with watching the first ADCC that I watched was with Hoffa Mendez, and I think they were in Shanghai.
Oh
And
wow.
at that point, it was a complete disaster, right? Complete disaster, that ADCC, because it was on the other side of the world. The time differences were horrendous. No one in the stands, no one in China gave a shit. So they went to China. Why? Right? It was a disaster. It was horrible. Then then it became, I think it was 2019, where they brought it back to America, and they had it in Anaheim, I believe, or Irvine. I don't remember which one, but I was there and it was amazing. The production was great. Like ADCC finally found their stride, where it was like, okay, and at the same time, jiu-jitsu in America was really, no-gi jiu-jitsu was really starting to explode. And the reason I bring this up is because the interest in the people in the stands and the people watching around the country went through the roof, right? And then you had the last ADCC, which was that at Thomas and Mack, and it was,
Yeah,
the
it
production
was amazing.
value was like UFC level, man. It was like unbelievable.
It was tremendous. It was tremendous.
So you had this thing where when it was in Shanghai, and then it was in, back then there were just, back, especially then, to me, it was the low point. I could understand the argument saying we don't have any money to pay people. I really don't understand it because I don't know the relationship between Mo and the Sheik and the organization and the Sheik, and if how much funding there is, I don't know. But what's clear, and I think what Craig was really upset about, was that at the last ADCC, walking in that, I can only imagine walking in that arena and looking around and going, dude, we're at a UFC fight. This is next level here.
Yeah,
And
for
Flow
sure.
Grappling is paying how much? I think they might even be paying, they said for this one, like $1 million for broadcast rights. That's just what
Yeah.
I've heard said, because UFC Fight Pass tried to get the broadcast rights for ADCC on UFC Fight Pass, and they pulled out. ADCC pulled out after the
It,
announcement, and so I would have to think that they didn't reach a level. So, anyways, that's why I think Craig was just like, "This is bullshit." I mean, I've heard him say that, right? What have you heard?
yeah, no, he's going hard, and I mean, it's hard to argue with his argument. Um, I mean, because like, and he said it pretty simply, like, well, they went over the top with production and all that's great, but at the same time, like, they could have gone a little bit less and then budgeted a little bit more for the athletes. You know what I mean? Because the revenue's there, like it's the funding is there, and so if they have the money, why are they not just prioritizing the athletes more? And it makes a lot of sense because it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like MMA in the old days, even still to now, like the beating that these guys put on themselves and the training that has to go in to get to that level, the time that has to be put in. It's almost impossible to like do that and then like have a job or a family or like whatever. Like
It's
those people have
impossible.
to
Yeah,
go, they got to
yeah.
go all in 100%. And then to not be able to have that be self-sustaining and self-sufficient, financially, that's a really difficult situation to be in. And then like he's joking around, and he said like he's making gay jokes on the internet and he's making a ton of money, and guys who are winning ADC, can't even pay their rent. And that it's a compelling argument. It's hard to, and then just the showmanship of like, let's cause some chaos. And I mean, I know he was on Rogan and Rogan was like, I wish you would have did a different, because I guess he has relationships with, the people over there. I know he's tight with Gordon and stuff, but like,
So
of
what did
course,
Rogan say? Rogan was wished that he did done what?
Rogan wished that he did it on a different weekend because I guess Rogan just feels bad because he's got relationships with
No,
but then at the
that's
same time he acknowledged it was it was a stroke of genius to do it on the same weekend
so,
because like that's how you make a splash.
doing it on another weekend would have accomplished nothing.
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 Yeah,
Nothing.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
this is
I think end of story. This is going to take the sport to a bigger level.
without question. Yeah, I think
Yep.
without, I don't, the impact on ADCC though is, let's face it, 2024 ADCC winner, put an asterisk by their name.
Yeah.
And that sucks. So
Yeah.
I think it would have been much, much better if everyone pulled out of ADCC.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the reality is that fighter pay, worker pay, the only way that things change is like a unionized strike. And that's basically what this is
I
when
know.
you have solidarity, right, between the fighters, and they're like the jiu-jitsu fighters, and they're like, none of us are showing up. There's no more ADCC. ADCC learns its lesson. You want to continue to have ADCC? then you're going to meet our demands. Whereas right now it's a
Yeah.
little fractured. But I think the amount of money, $1 million, dude, $1 million. You know how many people that fight professional MMA never even come close to making $1 million at the
Oh yeah.
UFC level? I mean, dude, this is
Oh yeah.
you'd have to be a lunatic. In my opinion, you'd have to be a lunatic to do ADCC. Why, if you had
Yeah.
the opportunity to go do Craig Jones Invitational and get a shot at this $1 million, which
I
one?
think a lot of
If you had to watch one or the other, which one would you watch as a fan?
I'm almost definitely going to watch the CJI. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially because who's Gordon competing against? I mean, like how many people are going to drop out of his division? So it's almost like that guy's probably sore because he's been on such a meteoric rise, and like this was going to be like the returning, is going to be a real big. He's probably fucking furious, and I love that because I like Gordon. I'm a fan of Gordon, and I think that he's done a pretty smart strategy with social media. But I think like Craig Jones is the ultimate
Oh my god,
art. He's the ultimate arch nemesis, and he's giving. I mean, he's killing him right now, killing him.
How do you
I love it.
answer? If you're Gordon, how do you answer to someone like Craig? There's no answer. He's too funny.
Too funny.
He's
And Gordon's
hilarious.
so
You know what I
serious.
mean?
Gordon's so serious, and it plays right into the jokes. It's so amazing.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's going to be, I can tell you, I guess maybe I'll be flipping over to Flow.
Are they
Dude,
both on Flow? What's CJI on?
YouTube for
It's on
free.
YouTube. Holy shit. That's even crazier.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I wonder, like for Mo, I wonder in ADCC, I wonder how much of this is about ego and saying, I'm gonna front, like, I don't care. Because that's basically what's come out so far. Is yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, do whatever you want. We don't care. Just don't screw it's like, dude, you do care.
Yeah, you
And
got to
and,
do. You
and
got to make. He's got to answer. He's got to
that's
do.
right.
He's got to do something.
Well, I think the answer should be, you're looking to say, yeah, this is an issue, and we're going to do everything we can to address it instead of like, fuck fighter pay,
I
because
mean, if the Sheik,
that's kind of what they're saying right now is we don't really care about fighter pay, and
yeah, trying to play like that's the best they can do, but the reality is, if like the Sheik wanted to, I mean, he could write, $3 million. I mean, that's like a fart in the wind. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he probably spends that on his girlfriends,
I don't know.
on the weekend.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly, though,
Not counting his
Jesse,
money or anything, but I mean, I'm making an assumption.
yeah, what I think is unknown is what the Sheik's involvement is anymore with ADCC. Is ADCC just functioning as an independent entity that he started years ago and really is not involved with? We don't know that. He could
Yeah,
have
they're
just
not.
been like, okay, you can run it, you can have it, you take the ball and run. I don't want to deal with that anymore. So it's let's back it up. Okay, so years ago, I think it might have been 2012, Metamorris started. So Metamorris
Yeah.
was the premier at that time, was a new paid super fight organization, and
Yep.
they put on, you remember that, remember
Yep.
Metamorris? And it
Yep.
was amazing. And my buddy Robert Zepps, who owns Studio 540, started it, and he did it in conjunction with Gracie. And the first event was just amazing. It was incredible. And every year after that, I think they did it like, I don't remember if it was 6 months or a year, but the next one was really good. Also, they finally, like in my mind, kind of peaked when there was the Eddie Bravo versus Hoyler rematch, and that's on YouTube. It's an amazing match. Eddie Bravo
Oh wow.
did really, really good, and that was a, I don't know if you know the history there, but Hoyler Gracie was the premier Gracie family jiu-jitsu competitor, right? World champion, ADCC champion. He was the elite of the elite, and he met Eddie Bravo in at ADCC, and again, you're talking like Hoffa Mendez level like dominance, and then he met Eddie Bravo, and Eddie Bravo caught him with rubber guard and then submitted him with a triangle.
Yeah.
And so it was one of the most talked about, like, oh my God. And as far as, and it really catapulted Eddie Bravo onto the national stage. But Eddie Bravo, like in the next round, I think he might have fought Leo Vieira, and Leo just ran through him. And so he didn't win. He's never won ADCC. But that one match, like, put him on the map. It was like, oh my God. It would be like, some unknown coming out and submitting today, like Gordon Ryan. It was that, like, what the fuck? And then Eddie just ran with it, right? He just was like, I'm the
Yeah.
winner, I'm dead, and started 10th Planet and exploded. He was a student of John Jacques Machado. And so he won the most improbable win ever. Didn't win ADCC, but a lot of Brazilians, a lot of people were like, this is bullshit. He got really lucky, and only was able, to catch him. And so that kind of
Of
like
course, that's what they
dogged
said.
Eddie and the whole time. Of course, man, no one wanted to give Eddie
Right.
credit, you know? And so, especially Brazilians at that time. And so
Of
there was a
course.
lot of animosity right there between Eddie and the Gracie family, really. And although Eddie always talked very highly of them and respectfully of them, and then they finally had that rematch at Metamorris, right? And I was backstage because with the Mendez brothers, Hoffa and Guy, I think Hoffa fought Clark Gracie, really good matches too. So they were both back there, and I was there, and I was a commentator at that time for Eddie Bravo Invitational. And so I knew Eddie, and I was sitting back there with him after the match, and he was like throwing up because of
Oh
just the
man.
adrenaline and all. I mean, it was an insane match, for both of those guys at that age to be, going like 20 minutes, I think it was. And so here he is throwing up. Royce Gracie comes backstage, right? The famous Royce Gracie, first ever UFC champion,
Yep.
and gets in Eddie Bravo's face and tells him he's going to kick his ass right there.
Really?
And oh yeah,
After the fight.
mm-hmm. You
Wait,
disrespected my family. You da 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 da.
I mean, because he won, that's why he disrespected your family. I mean, what the fuck? You know what I mean? He won.
It wasn't. It was a submission only, and Hoyler didn't tap. Most people who watched it said, "Oh, Eddie Bravo definitely got the better of that." The Gracie family, surrounded, with social media posts, congratulated Hoyler for the win. There was no, So you got to
So
watch the match. But
Eddie won. Eddie won both matches. The rematch too.
the rematch was submission only, and there was no submission, so it was a draw.
Oh, okay. So technically,
But he had him in
Eddie
a
got the.
calf slicer had him in this calf slicer and was
Wow.
wrenching. His knee was popping, pop, pop, pop. And Hoyler was like, I ain't tapping. I am not tapping.
Wow.
So,
That's crazy.
So you got to watch it, make your decision, just, whatever your call is. But at the end of the day, the rule set was draws or draw. So it was a draw.
Okay.
So anyways, that was the kind of the last of Metamorris. I don't even know Robert Zepps, who started Studio 540. I think he had already pulled out. So he had already pulled out and was like, I've already lost enough money. This is now, he's a wealthy guy. I don't This is not my line of
Yeah.
business. I don't want any. I've started Metamorris. It's great. I loved it. I had a good experience. Here, Halleck, take it and you now do whatever you want with it, right?
Got it.
And so now Metamorris continued, and I think maybe even that, I don't think Robert might not even have been involved with the Hoyler Eddie match. But from there, Metamorris continued, and it just ran into financial trouble. They weren't paying athletes. There was huge freaking blow up. And the reason
Wow.
I bring this up is because I think it's a parallel, or it could be a parallel for ADCC with the Sheik saying, he might have just said, I don't want anything more to do. I got a kingdom to run. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't want
A bit.
anything more to do anymore with ADCC. I don't know. I just don't know. We can't really speculate. I've seen a lot of people online saying, the Sheik could just pay whatever, blah, blah, blah. He might not have anything to do with it anymore.
And they're not public. They're not public about all that stuff, right? They don't really talk about
No.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. So, I think we have to take that with a grain of salt. So,
And also Mo doesn't do a great job at like explaining like who he is, He acts like he just has a job, and why not elaborate a little bit? Like obviously you don't want to. Well, now he's got competition, so now he's gonna have to,
well,
which is cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. But what he really has is a public relations nightmare. And
Yeah,
what he needs to do, in my opinion, is take some of that money that you're not paying the athletes and hire a PR firm and start crafting some kind of a message if you want to save ADCC.
yeah.
Because
This is, I mean,
as
a
of right
lot of people
now,
have dropped out, right? A lot.
yeah, I mean, like I said, enough
Big
people have
names.
dropped out to where you're talking about an asterisk.
Yeah, yeah. Holy shit.
Uh-huh. But it also brings up, as we've gone over Metamorris, these organizations have come and gone. We've seen, you know what I mean? We've seen them come and go and come and
Yeah,
go. Eddie Bravo Invitational has had really good um some really good like prize money, over the years. Not great, but good, better than most. But at the end of the day, they've never really like they wanted me. I talked to Hoffa for Eddie to try and get him to do the EBI, when I was commentating it. And, it got close because the prize money went up. But the issue is Hoffa was like, I'm not gonna go to that without a guarantee of X amount of money. And the EBI position was, we can't start giving guarantees for people like show money. That's not how we work. And so really what that meant was that a lot of athletes went to EBI and got nothing.
yeah, sure.
So in the sport, the question I think for the future of grappling is like, is this just going to be a blip because someone gave $3 million for a one-off, or is this going to be a change? It's hard for me to see that this is really going to be a change. Is there
Well,
money in grappling? I think that's the most important issue. Is there money in grappling? Now, clearly, for IBJJF, they've faced this criticism for a long time in regards to especially their gi athletes, is these guys are the best in the world and they're getting nothing for winning a world championship. Zero.
yeah.
And they're not paying them anything. And I can tell you right now, IBJJF makes money. You look at $140 to enter a tournament, and you look at how many people are at that tournament, IBJJF is raking in money.
I mean, and they've been
They
around
can pay their athletes.
they've been around for a long time, and they keep getting bigger and they keep expanding. I mean, there's got to be money in grappling because,
Well,
I mean, like,
but it's the model, Jesse, for IBJJF is different because IBJJF is taking in money off you and I competing.
yeah,
And what I'm saying is they could redistribute some of that money to the
to,
fighters. ADCC doesn't take in money at that tournament. You know what I mean? I think now they're
yeah,
starting to
yeah,
do ADCC Opens, which could fund. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
yeah.
But that
ADCC should buy IBJJF. That's
You
what I
think
would do.
but that goes back, is it the Sheik buying IBJJF or is it
Well, I
Bo
mean,
Jasmine?
somebody's
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, somebody's got to put some real money, because if they had if if IBJJF is the vehicle to where it's like you have your top bracket of fighters who are like the best, money flows, guys like you and me are still competing, still trying and doing what we got to do. That funds most of the money that, goes to the top. And then every 2 years you have the Olympics, you know what I mean, which
Mhm.
has an even larger prize, which is an even bigger event. The whole thing becomes integrated. It's one company. That's the move.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want consulting, I'm available. My rate is not cheap though.
I don't, yeah, man, I don't know. It's like that's so to me, that's the big question. Is this a blip and we're going to about to go, this $3 million is going to be dispersed. Craig's dispersing it to the athletes. It's going to put a real hurt on ADCC one time, or is this going to happen every ADCC?
But
You
the
know,
question is like
that's
what's
a
the
lot of money.
consumer?
$3 million just going out. How much is
Yeah,
coming
yeah. It
in?
doesn't matter how much you
Doesn't
have.
sound
Three
like,
million bucks is $3 million.
and you're not taking any money in. Where are you making money?
What?
Some sponsorships, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, well, the question is how big is the consumer base? I mean, how big is jujitsu? How big
That's
is
it.
grappling?
That's it.
I think. I mean, it keeps getting bigger. I mean, more. I think it's pretty fucking big.
I don't
I
know.
mean, it's big enough. I mean, how is Gordon making
I think I looked and they said worldwide there's like 3 million people that do jujitsu. That's not too big.
That's not that's not that big.
No, it's not. So,
That's not that big at
we
all.
in our world, we're thinking that it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is,
It is,
but
but it's not that big.
but anecdotally we're saying that. From
Yeah.
statistically, it's like it's not very big, man. 17 or at last I checked, like 18, 19 something million kids skateboard, in America.
Yeah.
If 3 million people do jujitsu worldwide,
It's nothing.
mm-mm,
That's hard to
it's not.
monetize.
Yeah. So that's what
Interesting.
I mean. How,
That makes it
what, go
makes it
ahead.
even more impressive that Gordon Ryan is making the money that he's making.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think what you have to do is you're looking at, your market. Whenever you start a business, you want to look at your market. How big is it from a volume perspective of, how many people are potential customers. But then there's also that, you know, how much money do these people have? And I think that for the most part, people that do jiu-jitsu have money.
I think probably. Yeah,
That's my
because
feeling.
it's not cheap.
No, it's not cheap, and it's not. You'd have a lot of like. That's why I think like these jujitsu worldwide camps that people travel to, and it's people like you and I. That
Yeah.
support jujitsu. People like you and I are the people who really fund jujitsu because not only are we professionals who have money to pay for equipment and all that, it's we have kids that we pay for them to go into jujitsu also,
Yeah.
right? And so it's not the competitors. That was something that Guy Mendez has stressed with me numerous times. Is like competitors. There's no money in competitors. That's not where it is. It's with the
Yeah.
kids and the parents. You know,
Yeah.
you have the kids and the parents will buy all the gear for the kids. They'll pay for private lessons for the kids. Pay for, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
Very
so
interesting.
anyways,
Very interesting.
yeah, it's right until you really think about it. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
So,
because like most of these competitors, a lot of these guys own their own gyms. Like a lot of these guys are like they're in the gym owner business, and then they're trying to train their team, but then they're preparing, for all the IBJJF events, the ADCC events, and whatever super fights, and so it's really not like it's evolving for sure. There's no question that it's evolving, but it's not yet at this elite professional sports level, like not even close. Like there's a couple of guys like Gordon and Craig who have like these social media things going on, but
But is it ever going to be? Is it ever going to be? And you know, I wrote an article for Vice Media years ago, and I said, you know, I compared MMA with the UFC with football. And the thing about football is that the football is a very complex sport, right? It's not easy to understand like soccer, you know, where you kick a
yeah,
ball into the net, right? It's
yeah.
complicated. It starts, it stops, it does this. It's in America, football is so big because we grow up playing football,
Hmm.
right? So we play in the corner. We understand downs. We understand, you know what I mean? We understand all of it, right? By the time we're 10 years old, 12 years old. So because kids play football when they're younger, they can watch it when they're older. So, like Pop Warner, Pee Wee football, and all that is actually growing the future like fans of the sport. That's the purpose of it. And you know, MMA doesn't have that because MMA does what I wrote was that MMA kids parents are not allowing their kids to fight MMA. They're not allowed. They're never going to, not with head trauma.
Yeah.
And
No.
so my argument was UFC has got to start nurturing and putting money into grappling because grappling is, if you're a fan of jiu-jitsu, then you're probably going to watch MMA
So
because
is
you
Dana the
understand.
guy? Is Dana the guy? I feel like I'm putting you on the spot because maybe you know.
No, I haven't spoken to him about it. My gut reaction would be no because of his relationship with the Sheik. You got to remember that the Sheik
Got it.
was an early
Got it.
investor in UFC. And
Is it
so
Zuckerberg? Because Zuckerberg is so on the fanboy train right now. He wants to be a fighter so bad.
and $3 million is
Nothing.
completely irrelevant.
Nothing.
Irrelevant, you know,
Nothing. It's like a
to
puff of smoke.
right? It's kind of mind boggling when you think
It
about it.
is. It
So
is. It
so
hurts. It
so
hurts.
so yeah, I think you know the idea that that the investor has chosen to remain quiet, to me means it could be Zuckerberg because he's loving jujitsu. I just
Yep.
don't know. Is there some kind of a connection that we've seen with Zuckerberg and Craig Jones? Have they ever been
Well,
together?
I believe that Zuckerberg was training with Israel Adesanya, Volkanovski, and a bunch of those guys. And I know that Craig trains Volkanovski and is friendly with
Mm.
Adesanya and was kind of like the jujitsu guy in that scene. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
No, you're
I
right.
know.
You're right. That's a really good point, man. Volk
Yep.
and Craig could be the connection, man.
And he has a brand, you know what I mean? Like it would make sense to use Craig because like he has a brand that like, is super popular on Instagram and, so it would all kind of connect.
That's a really good point. That's like that 6 degrees of separation. Yeah. The
Yeah.
only one I knew I forgot about him training with Volk. I know he trains with Mikey Musumeci,
Yeah.
a friend of mine. And so, um, yes, that could be it, dude. That could be it.
It's
Because
interesting.
my only thoughts are that it's either some crypto guy, but that makes sense. That does make
It's
sense.
got to be somebody who loves jujitsu because they're probably not going to make money. You know what I mean? They're probably not going
Oh
to,
no,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
maybe they break
Like
even
I
if
don't
they're
even care
lucky,
what
but
you do with it. Here's $3 million. How many
yeah.
people have that kind of money? Very,
Not
very,
a lot.
very, very,
and
very.
and like jujitsu.
Yeah, so that's why you're like, would it be Dana? What's the motivation there? You know what I mean? I only see a
Yeah,
negative on that side. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, it's not. He
he
doesn't
doesn't
need it.
really,
That's for sure.
he didn't really watch jiu-jitsu, so he doesn't know. I think someone asked him. I saw someone ask him. He's like, "Who?" Craig
Yeah.
Jones or whatever. He's like,
Yeah,
what are you talking about, man?
yeah.
That is
Yeah,
so
yeah.
not even on the
I saw
radar.
that.
So yeah, so man, the Zuckerberg, I think if we're taking a poll right now, I think I have to go Zuckerberg too. I think I'm gonna go with
Yeah,
that vote.
I'm going Zuckerberg for sure.
We're going
For sure.
Team Zuckerberg for the funding of CJI Vitruvian 5000. That is where we are casting our
That's it.
vote. The other one, like I
Sure.
said, is maybe Crypto King or some Crypto King or something, but I don't
Yeah.
think so. I don't think so. I think it's someone, you're right, who loves and has a connection with Craig. So,
Yep.
anyways, it's going to be good, man. I'm freaking stoked. I'm stoked.
Same.
Yeah. I'm really stoked because um, I think I don't know if it's happening right now, but ONE FC is gonna have ONE FC is really coming on strong with jiu-jitsu with Mikey Musumeci and the Rutolo brothers. Rutolo, one of the Rutolo, I think it's Cade Rutolo, is going to be fighting MMA in ONE FC. That might even be happening like soon. It might be happening today. I believe
Are they Atos or are they you guys? The
Atos.
Rotolos.
So the
Okay.
Rutolos used to train. That's how I know them. We used to train together
Okay.
at AOJ,
Okay.
and I trained with them and their dad, Chris, and so I know them really well. You just go over their garage and train with them all the time,
It's awesome.
and train at Ruka together. Yeah, I learned a lot of shit from them. Believe it or not, those little fucks have been
Yeah.
teaching me. I'm serious, man. They've been teaching me jujitsu since they were 8 years old.
That's
No shit,
amazing.
man. I have learned so much from them. Anytime I had to troubleshoot something, or I'm like, I need this with, dude, there's nothing I could ask them, even when they were 10, that they didn't know. They were already
Wow.
black belts, you know,
Wow.
training since they were 3 years old. So,
It's
but
amazing.
it's no wonder though that they're going into MMA because, we would be at Ruka and they'd spar, they'd just be jujitsu. And if one of them, like, sometimes it would get really heated. So then they would go in the cage and put on gloves and just start fighting each
With
other.
the two of each other. That's
Dude, just
amazing.
like brothers where they scrap.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
each of them is like their competitive nature is such that, and it's honed because, that there's that adage that, steel sharpens steel. Dude, these two have been like this all the way to the top, fighting each
It's
other.
crazy.
No,
Crazy.
it is unacceptable for one to beat the other at anything.
Really.
Anything. Anything. Yeah, I've seen them freaking scrap so many times. So now Cade's going to be fighting MMA. So that should be cool.
Awesome.
And Mikey Musumeci is, and I think it's today for some reason, is fighting Gabriel Sousa, and so that's going to be a good one too. So
Wow.
on ONE FC in jiu-jitsu. So I'm stoked,
Yeah,
even
man.
though the economics of it like don't make too much sense. My hope
No.
is that this isn't just a blip and that jiu-jitsu gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think it's got a shot. It's not guaranteed though. It's not a foregone conclusion.
No, because what we've seen is these, like I said, with Metamorris and these events come and go and come
Yep.
and go, and there's just not, you got to have money, you got to have, it's like the complaint with, like some, like WNBA. It's like you can only really, it's got to be a business, right? If
And
you're not
people gotta
selling
want it.
jerseys and you're not
Yeah.
selling pay-per-view and you're not selling advertising and you're not selling tickets, how
It's
much
not gonna
money can
work.
you really distribute to the athletes?
Yeah,
Right? I
yeah,
think
yeah,
I
no.
think in the end, in NFL or NBA, one of them, NBA maybe, there's a formula where it's like all the players get like 50% of everything.
Yeah.
That's why they make that money, or
Yep.
soccer. The reason soccer
Yeah,
players,
because the
make
public wants it.
130 million a year is because they're making that much money.
Yeah, the people want it. It's a global phenomenon. It's consumed at a crazy rate, and people have to want the product.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sick,
All right,
sick.
brother. This was a good
All right,
one,
man.
man. I can't wait to watch. I'm so
Yeah,
stoked to
definitely.
watch it,
I'm
man.
sure. I'm sure.
How's your training going, dude?
Pretty good. I only trained once this week since I got back from fucking off in the Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm gonna train tomorrow. And the other day my shoulder, like from the surgery, was kind of cranky and kind of hurt a little bit, so I kind of eased out. I said, let me chill
Mm.
on that. But I'm hanging tough though. I'm hanging tough.
I'm so stoked, man, that right now I'm in such a groove right now with I have been like training butterfly guard for probably I think 4 years ago. I really started 3 4 years ago under Ross Nichols at London Grapple, and I really
Okay,
started focusing on butterfly guard because I didn't play it at all, and I
I got to
feel
work
like
on
I'm
that.
finally a blue belt in butterfly guard.
Oh
I'm
shit.
finally starting to
Yeah.
use, but no, I'm really starting to enjoy butterfly guard and butter half. And so
Okay.
I'm incorporating it with like a Z guard to a butterfly, and all of this I'm learning from like Craig Jones. Like I am such a big Craig Jones, Jacob Couch, all these guys.
I got to watch some of his stuff. I'm in a position right
Craig's
now to where
amazing, man.
my half guard, my knee shield, like I'm way too defensive. Like I hang back for too long. I play defense just for the sake of playing
Dude, I
defense.
gotta come
And
up there and teach a seminar, dude. I'm gonna
yeah, man, we got to do
show
that.
you guys some of this because that was one of the things that I had a lot of problems with that I don't anymore, man. Now it's like boom, you got to be aggressive with it. Like when
Yep.
I'm playing in the gi and I'm playing De La Hiva, I am never sitting passive. I am always actively attacking a sweep or a submission with 100% intensity the moment I
That's where
get
I'm
those
struggling.
grips.
I struggle
You
to
got
where
it. I have to do
I,
that with butterfly too. It's
yeah,
the only way it works.
yeah.
Yeah. And one more note on butterfly guard, Adam Warzinski just won adult. Dude, listen to this. Adam Warzinski from Poland just won adult uh, uh, worlds at heavyweight in the gi. He's the first Polish grappler to ever do it. He has been going, I think, to worlds for 8 years and never got a medal.
Oh wow.
He won gold. He has, I believe he said, yeah, he won it at heavyweight. Yeah, but I believe he's 33 years old now.
Holy shit.
And mhm. And so everyone's like, why aren't you fighting masters? He's like, in my mind, I know it's difficult, but I kind of just felt like I could do it. I could win as an adult. And to do it at 33 years old for the first time,
That's
what a
amazing.
stud. It's amazing. And all with butterfly guard.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah, such an
That's really
inspiration.
cool.
All right, man. Next time, let's get back into some AI, man.
Let's get back to the future.
Get back to the future is right. All right, brother.
Awesome.
This was awesome,
All right.
man. We'll do it next time.
Peace.
Late.